For everybody that is new into this space, just want to bring you up to speed. It's an open forum where we will exchange questions and answers around how to use the tool. We start out with open questions. You can raise your hand. I will answer as you do. If for those who cannot, who don't want to raise their hand and come into the forefront for their question, you can ask your question directly into the chat. I have Robert with me that will be helping. To find the recap on these sessions and any other content pertaining to what we're discussing, I created a series of links. I'll share that with you in the chat. And with that said, we'll get going. Perfect. So we'll start with a round of questions. I already see Sandy has one. So Sandy, go ahead.
Okay, so I am knocking it out the park with lead nav. Okay. So I am looking for travel influencers. I have a program that scraped like Instagram and I gave it specifics. Anyway, but can you only do so many though? Because I'm like the past like 10 that I've done says no information on this person.
I don't think that there is a limit because remember we all opted in for the unlimited part of now.
Right.
So
Okay.
there should not be any limit. What I usually question is, okay, well, depending on how well the person is using the social media or is present, we might find information or not. These people that you didn't get any results from, what type of profile did you
Instagram?
Okay.
So
And
like,
did
so
it?
I have my list. I go to their
Mhm.
Instagram, screenshot it,
Mhm.
and then upload it into LeadNav, and then it
Okay.
gives me all their information. Then I put it in my influencer file. Then at the
Mhm.
end of every day, I'm gonna send an email out to that list to
Good,
be.
good. I want to come back to that. I want to come back to that first step because the first step being the decision that you make to capture them could lead to maybe okay because we're concerned with the fact that for certain one of those we're not getting information, or was it the last 10 in a row?
So I want to say that maybe the last 4 in a row.
Row,
Like,
okay.
so I had a few that didn't have information. Then I had one that had information, and then I think the last 4 did not have information.
Let's just for because this brings me back to one of the topics of the conversation that I want us to have here is the decision, the discernment, right? Because I'm going to screen capture this. I can do this a little bit as you're doing massively, just trying to get as much people as I can, or I have to take the time to look at this profile. Was there a lot of activity? Was this present? Was depending on the platform at a glance, you can see if the person has extra contact information in their bio profile there. That could determine whether or not this person is worth even starting the process on, depending
Right.
on if
So
you're looking at
I have a
leaders or whatnot. Mhm.
I have a criteria like over 250,000 followers. They have
Okay.
to have over 1 million views on a like. So I have a whole criteria. They have to be active and posting. Like, so I go look at their profile before I screenshot it.
Sure. Okay.
But
So,
I'm
mhm.
just wondering if there's a limit. I didn't think there was a limit on it.
No, no, there's not a limit. What I would want, if possible, for you to do, because it could be that there's not enough information on these people, but from your criteria, there is activity, so there should be something. So what I would suggest is maybe screenshot the specific profile, send it to us so that we can put that to the test internally to see if there's a bigger tweaking that we need to do. I think that would be great help. But to answer the question, there shouldn't be any limit. We all opted into the unlimited version.
Okay.
Okay, so we just want to see if there's an issue with the way we're choosing, because that could be the fact that leads us to somebody that is not active, no profile, or a deeper issue that we need to take a look at. Okay, so if you can, the specific profiles, especially if it's happening in the row, you already have these screen captures, send it to support so they can test it and see. Make
Okay.
sense?
Sounds good. Thank
Perfect.
you.
You're welcome. Rena, go ahead.
Hi. So,
Hi.
quick question. I just want to check. So, it's been a minute since I've been in some of these. So, are we only talking nav or are we talking other things as well?
No, no, no. It's an open forum. Knob is
Okay.
really just
Okay.
the
Just want to
topic of
make
the
sure
day.
things didn't change since the last time I did it.
Go ahead.
So I have a website, and the goal for the website is to do some lead capture before they enter said website, right? So I have an email campaign that I'm in the process of creating, but
Okay.
here's my question. I want it to be certain month kind of flavors, right? So every month have sort of a different type of a theme, which is great, but then thinking on it, it's not as great because say person enters in on week 8,
Hmm.
then they're going to get week 1 January content, not necessarily the content that I want them to have for that month. Is there an easier way to like make it, or should I make the series of emails month based instead of having it go through a like, because the idea is for a nurturing campaign for 52 weeks. That's the idea.
Okay. Okay. Now, there's two ways of doing this. I'm going to share my screen just so that we understand, because you started by putting forward the fact that before they get to the website, there's a selection program. If that is the capture process, meaning that I'm going to give you my information on the website, and at that point, my 52-week cycle will start, right? At that
Yes.
point, you can automate the process without taking in an account the month, because my week started today when I adhere to the program, right? 52 week, not starting from January. 52 week could start from February, from March, from whenever the prospect opts in. So that allows you to create a standard workflow or standard email flow that everybody will personally experience as they make the decision, right? So just by changing the fact that, well, we're not doing this on January, February, or whatnot, we're doing day one, week one for you starting your program when you decide. So by tailoring the conversation like that, you can pre-plan your 52 weeks email campaign, right? Now, if you're doing this manually, meaning that you're deciding, I'm going to start January, and then from that point on, systematically follow an issue date every month. It means that you're no longer using an automation. You are controlling your campaign issue. So basically, you're going to be creating your monthly campaign drip in the email campaign. So I assume you have also, I'll do one here, for example. I'll take the NowSite expert. I'll say 52 weeks program. Okay, program. Sorry, I'm having trouble reading myself. Okay, so here I would choose my email. See here. So starting, getting started. Okay, so of course you would assign the list. I'm not going to do that. Oh, it's going to create an issue here. But the difference is you would create your campaign, right? But you would not connect it so that you would manually decide when you're sending it. So here, for example, I am going to save this. So I have my first email. That's the day one of the cycle, right? And I would add one, for example, day two, and so on and so forth, right? So if you are doing this, like I said, and you're planning on the automation at that point, yes, the moment I start my day one, oh, sorry, I made an error here. I'm going to go back. The immediately goes to day one. Okay. So immediately I get this day one, day two, day three, and this is, I'm following my own cycle, right? Now, let's say this was monthly. I'm going to send you this one first month, second month, and we're starting January. So, right. So at that point, I'm not going to take advantage of the automation here, meaning that it's not going to be connected to this list. Right? We don't want that. It's not going to be used also in this massive rollout, right? So you're in fact just creating the campaign, assigning the email rollout, saving and exiting, because now you're going to control the issue from your lists, meaning that you are clocking your calendar. And I know that, well, every week, for example, I have to come here, select the list, email this list, and now I can access my campaign, right? And decide they're going to get this one this month. Next month, they're going to get this one, and so on and so forth. So you're controlling your calendar date and you're manually issuing the email, right? There's a combination of both that can be used. For example, I want a monthly newsletter that I control. So I'm going to tell you once a month, starting from this, I'm going to send you this email. So if you come in on March, you'll get the March email because I'm manually sending it out. Okay. If I want to say, well, I have an ongoing newsletter, core knowledge that everybody should need to know to get up to speed and then benefit from the fresh news, then I have that, right? I have a topic of discussion. It's a newsletter, an individual newsletter that is sent out that you need to go through this journey, right? And when there's hot news, I have my monthly news update letter that I'm manually sending out. So you can use both of them. That answers the question?
I believe so. I'm gonna
Perfect.
play
So,
with it.
so the input on this too, Rena, like there's a lot of thought that has to go into this, just to be
Mhm.
clear.
Yeah.
If you're going to do a monthly, like the reason I'm saying this and added to it, because you said two things throughout your conversation. You said monthly and then you said 52 weeks. So which is it,
Okay.
right?
So
Or are you going to send a monthly or weekly? And
it's
then
a weekly, but I want it to be monthly themed.
got you.
That's the goal.
Right.
So inside of each week has a different theme that's inside of that month, right? And
Mhm.
then so I guess my biggest concern is, say I have people join that are in the January mail list. I don't want them to
Right.
inadvertently get a double if I'm going over to
Right.
add them to my February start of the list if I'm going to end up doing it monthly.
Right.
Or the thought is, do I just keep it so generic that it's not a themed monthly and just have the value add that is the plan for the 52 weeks, right?
Right, right. But as long as
Mm.
you know what they are in expression to what week that they would join, what Virgil was showing you too, when you go and you collect that email, right? They opt into your thing. Now you can determine, okay, well, what list do you need to put them on in accordance with those emails? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you could go into that contact and just select, put them on this list based off of when they join. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think that maybe I understood it wrong, but I think that maybe the confusion is because you said something about my January list and then my February list, right? When in fact there's only one list and there's a set of campaigns. My January campaign, my February campaign,
Got
my
it.
March campaign. So all these people in the list, for example, if you're doing this manually, if and wow, there's going to be a lot of thought process that is going into if I understood what you're saying, because you're combining a monthly newsletter with a weekly theme, if I'm understanding correctly, right? Because you said you wanted mm, uh, monthly, but every month has a weekly topic, right? So if I understand the structure, what I should be seeing when I open your email campaign editor, so here, for example, when we come here, we'll have January newsletter, February newsletter, March newsletter. And within each one of these January, February, March campaign, I will have 4 email, week 1, week 2, week 3. So you now will be doing this. It's a lot of points there. So at the beginning of January, you're going to come and shoot out the January campaign that will roll out week after week by itself. At the end of that month, you're going to come back, shoot out the March newsletter that's going to roll out. Sorry, the February newsletter that's going to roll out automatically week after week till the end. So it means that open every time you open your list here, right? You're going to be, oh, sorry. So every time you open your list here, this is going to be one list. Everybody that wants this, you're going to open it. You're going to open the email, this list, and then you're going to be looking at my January email campaign newsletter, my February, and so on and so forth. And you will be selecting this one because you see this one will select all of them. So if on the 1st of January I come and I trigger this, then in the core to my cycle, 1, 7 days after, 2, 7 days after, 3, 7 days after, 4, the cycle is completed for this month. And we will do this again on February. So yes, there's a thought process at many levels that you're looking at. You're using the automation, yes, but you're also manually controlling what is happening. You're also using a calendar date. So you fire once a month, everything happens within that month, and you come back next month.
Perfect.
I would recommend you book a meeting. Once you think you've set it up properly, book a meeting so that way we can review it, test it on ourselves, and then submit it to the public. Good?
And okay, so just let me know how booking a meeting works.
Oh,
I don't
bottom
know.
right, when you're in your actual account, bottom right here, you have our chat, right?
Mhm,
You
mhm.
use you use the message, and
Mhm.
you say, well, can I get a nerd meeting link?
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so
Perfect.
much.
Pleasure, Rina. Ariel, go ahead. Oh, you are muted.
Yeah, okay. My name is
Mm.
Ariel Betancourt. I'm here in Montreal, Canada, and I'm
Hello,
on
Montreal.
I'm an old MLM distributor for many years now. So I found that the best thing to do now for me personally is the nav now, the nav now site, which is good. And I do email, but I use different email on daily basis. So my question here is that I see a potential on the nav site for people like me. My specialty mostly it is help people to make money and lose weight. This is what
Okay.
is my goal. So now my question here it is now as a affiliate for NowSite. I understand that we don't get we don't get a penny from the nav site. Mean when we get someone to come into the site and they buy the site, they pay $100 now. We don't get any money. So
Oh, go ahead.
that's what I find out about it. So, but I don't mind. That's okay because eventually, those people they like what they see. They are going to come and become members. So I'm okay with that. Now, my question here it is when you send an email, what's the most important part of an email? The subject had to be short, the body had to be mostly not too long, meaning from left to right. It had to be that long. It's better for to be down. You know what I mean? The north
Yes,
to
I
south.
know. I know what you mean. I'm
So
gonna.
what will be your suggestion for? I'm talking about when you send some email.
Mhm.
What is the most important part of an email?
Um. Okay. There's so many layers to that question. First, the most important part of an email for me, for it to end up in the inbox of the person that I'm sending it to, because that's the first problem. Before they get to read it, they have to receive it, right? So it
Right.
has to be potentially, I want to make sure that this ends up in his inbox, not in his junk mail or his spam. So the
Right.
first part that is important is the subject,
The
because
what?
the subject line.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the subject line, meaning I'm going to share here, email, when I look at this getting started here, right? So the first part that is important is actually here unlock your potential with our 52-week marketing, right? Because first thing first, if I'm interested in marketing, I've set up my email to accept content that speak about marketing. That's what I want, right? I
Right.
don't like foosball, for example, and that's not true, but I'm using a term. I don't like foosball. Block this. I don't want that. Right.
Okay.
So the first thing that is important, because when the email comes in, and there's a lot of questions around warming up email, we covered that and such and whatnot. If we make abstraction of all these tools, all these options, because these are options that we want to explore. But if we look at the basic email interaction, if I'm sending an email, I want to make sure that you're interested in the topic of that email. This is
Okay.
why you will open it. So the first part that is important is the subject. It also makes sure that you have aligned the interest with the recipient's interest. He's
Right.
interested in marketing. I'll send him content about marketing. He will be happy about it. So the text is important. Now, for the process of the conversation, the length of it, okay, I'm going to default to, well, actually, I don't need to default. Just going to go here. When you're opening the tool, when it has to do with writing content, whether it's messaging, conversation, even down to email, you will see that you have this flow of work, right? It's the sales flow, it's the conversation flow. Okay. Respect that. Because, for example, if I'm going to connect you with the first time, and I really, really, really want to make a connection with you, I'm not going to sell you the book. I'm not going to send you a book, right? I'm going to give you a hello. I'm really interested in you, and I want you to know why. This is what I do. A short brief. This is where you can see more. In fact, by showing you what I do, I'm introducing myself briefly, but I'm putting the fact that you and me are alike, right?
Right.
That's the first thing. So the connection. And remember, when you're writing your messages, and it's going to be the same thing when you're doing a connection with Nav, right? And I like what you said opening up. The best thing for you is Nav. Why? Because as a senior marketer or as somebody that has spent time in this field, we all understand, or everybody will understand, that it boils down to the human contact, that
Right.
conversation.
Right.
Whether
Yeah.
whether I set up a whole system and you actually converted without talking to anybody. You
Right.
saw the link, you loved it, you clicked it, and you converted. That's
Right.
never the true conversion, actually. When the conversion happens automatically, the client will seek next the consolidation of what they purchased, the consolidation of the interest. So we will need to face at least once to reinforce the fact that we're dealing with one person. That is
Right.
when the conversion really happens. I'm happy with what I purchased because I can purchase and then return right away. Sometimes people don't even take the tag off. Like, yeah, I'm going to return this one,
Right.
right? But I bought it. So the sell itself, at the end, for me, it's never actually the conversion. It's when the client, the prospect, the client has doubled down on it. Say, hey, I'm happy with this. They're ready
Right.
for more. Okay. So, and that process happens gradually. So
Okay.
I would suggest, simply said, your links of your email should start short and go a little bit, grow in content as you go on. The simple logic behind that is that when I come in, I want to start simple. But if you're still receiving and accepting my email over time, it means that you have prepared yourself to receive more and more information if you are reading it.
Right.
Okay. But then more information is not necessarily the good information.
Right. Yeah.
The purpose of each email is important. Whatever email, and to finish this conversation, the next part that is important in the email after the subject for me is the call to action.
Right.
Because the email is sent to tell you to do something,
Right.
right? And by me, myself, understanding what I want you to do here and anchoring it, I understand what this text is meant to do. If it's meant to introduce me and create a connection, hey, I really like what I saw on your profile and we share interests. And this is why I'm sending you this first message just to introduce myself, show you what I'm doing. Here's a link. Here's my digital card.
Can I,
Go look.
can I
Go
ask
ahead.
one more thing that maybe this
Go
is
ahead.
good for networkers? Okay.
Go ahead.
I took some courses many years ago in marketing.
Yes.
And what I learned from those guys, this guy was fantastic. And he used, and I start using that one now, and I can see the results. It's called the IEDA, attention, interest, desire, and action. You ask to your, I call her Lolita. Lolita is my, my AI, you know, her name is Lolita. So I said, Lolita, get me something, email for tonight using the AIDA subject. And then she will do it for me. And then when it's too long, I said, make it shorter, please. And
Perfect.
I got more people that are more, because AIDA is attention, and then interest, desire, and then action. I put my picture and a phone number or email, and it changed a lot. So it's a tip for you
Exactly.
guys.
Absolutely. Here, and this is so powerful conversation. Here, I referred to it many times. I'm not sure if everybody's catching it, but when we say interest, intention, call to action, this is the sum of what he's saying here, right? We have to understand the intention. The IAD you said there was in your lexic. The first one was
It's attention for A.
attention. So we have to grab the person's attention. That's interest. If
And then,
I'm not interested in what you're doing, you cannot have my time. You can have not my intention, my attention. Then you have what?
interest.
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 Do we need to talk about again that word? Interest. If I'm not interested in what you are selling, good luck getting my time.
And then desire. Did you
Desire.
mind that? Did you
If
mind?
I
And
don't
then
want it,
attention.
if I don't need it, if I don't want it, you can talk to hell and back about it. Good. I'll come back when I'm ready. And then after you have interested me and informed me, if you don't tell me how, and you have heard me sing this, after you have interested me and informed me how, right? And you see, this is beautiful because through time, the values that we have to adhere to remain the same. They might morph a little bit, right? From attention to interest to desire and action,
Action, yeah.
right? From that to simpler format, to simpler tools, to simpler process. But we do have to believe and trust in these process, right?
Absolutely.
Same thing, Ariel, coming back to this and answering your question with that fundamental, right? If I'm going to get your attention, I can't be boring. And if I give you a big email at the beginning, the first lines are enough to bore me. Are you expecting me to read all this text? Right? You want to get my attention? Interest me. Tell me there's a greater value. Tell me that you're interested in me and show me who you are. So I'm like, oh, right? So we have that, right? And you follow up with that. The second one, the interest. Well, that's when I start. Let's go back to this conversation here. Actually, building a rapport. It's getting your attention, right? Presenting, following up. That's if I am going to present something, I'm going to show you, hey, there's an interest here for you, right? This is why it's good. At that point here, I'm building that second stage, building on that interest, creating that desire to meet, right? And then call to action. So when in doubt, this is actually giving you that roadmap. Just remember also the KISS principle. Keep it simple and
Keep it
sweet.
simple. Yeah, the keys.
Exactly. Go ahead, Tina. Does that answer your questions?
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you for the share. You know, last time you came,
Merci beaucoup.
last time you came in with your hat, I've been gunning for one. I haven't found one yet, but next time I'll have one. Pleasure in sharing.
Thank you.
Tina, go ahead.
I have a couple questions, but I'm just going to go to this one since Ariel and you just prompted this. On the nav, when you just went to build rapport and these other areas, do we put that over to nav? Or I don't want to kind of get the two confused right now.
Nav is going to be, I'll show you. We'll answer that question and demonstrate. Nav is taking you to that process. Remember,
Okay.
Nav is building itself on all this conversational aspect. Most of the time here, you'll notice that the conversation or the action of Nav will either start with, okay, show interest, go discover more, depending on what you told Nav you got on this person or the information that it sees that it has, right? And
Right.
that is basically the process that it's going to follow. Even when you're going to be asking it what to do, it's going to work in that. For example, invite a connection, right? So send a personal message to Robert expressing interest, right? First thing, sending him a personal message is looking for his attention, coming back to what we just bounced off, right? So that is exactly the same process, right? Showing him interest, okay? About his goal, passionate for starting a home venture. They should feel like genuine curiosity rather than a pitch,
Okay.
right? I want to make a connection with you. I'm not going to sell you the book. Oh, you should get this. Da, 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 da. No, 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 no. Right? I can't start with a call to action. I have to start with the beginning. Attention, build the interest.
Okay.
Right? So discover needed. Okay, so it's telling you once you have, because it, and if you see, there's so much logic in what we are doing here, because it's telling you, okay, manifest genuine curiosity. When you are curious, what do? You go discover. When you are discovering, what are you doing? You're on this person's profile, looking at their post, liking, building rapport at the same time, right? Tailoring an offer is saying, okay, I saw this person, for example, has a lot of family content. So if I'm going to talk to him, it's going to always go into the benefit, for example, of his family, right? Create your own business, create a better future for your family, create a legacy, a network that you can pass on to your family, right? So now I'm like, oh yeah, I should do that, right? Right. So that's basically the same thing. It's everything that we're doing when it comes down to conversation. It's not even a repeat or we're reinventing something. No, we're just doing exactly what we set out to do from the beginning. Give you a conversation sales flow that is easy to follow. At this point, we're giving you a sales flow conversation that the AI will follow for you. You just have to be knowledgeable about it.
Right.
Right?
That's awesome. And
Mhm.
I have a couple more questions. I'm trying to keep them in order with this. One of my friends that is in NowSite, she's not able to turn her mic on today or her phone. Her question is, hopefully this flows right for everyone. How to use sales prompts? She asked me. How can you show how to use the sales prompts?
Sales prompts. Okay, that I have. I'll save that for tomorrow.
Okay, that'll be
because
fine. And I'm sure
sales.
she can be on the call tomorrow.
Yeah, at which level of? Do you know at which level she's using the sales prompt?
I think it's for the nav, but we'll be more specific for you tomorrow for that. And I mean, all of our questions I think help each other, so I appreciate that.
Okay.
And then go ahead.
I was gonna give an answer to that as well, just
Okay.
in case, because if we're talking sales prompt, meaning prompting for the sale, meaning when do I make the offer? Because asking Nav here, because here, for example, as it is, if this is what we're referring to, this is something that we're using all the time, right? Because, for example, here, I got this person from, if I'm not mistaken, it was from online, right? If I got this person from online, right? And now we're telling me to go discover or tailor the offer. Then as I go on this person's profile, I will come back to Nav and say, well, actually, here, this is a great case scenario. Here I'll say, I just discovered Robert and I only have his email. How should I proceed? Right? If that's the tool that we're looking at, if it's about when do I prompt the client for a sell, then it has to do with the journey, at which point have we built the connection, at which point have we presented enough of our product to create that desire before we say, okay, act on that desire.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you, Virgil. You're so wonderful. I adore you. One last question, and like I said, I don't want to hog up the call, but hopefully this helps people. I never wanted to do emails because I delete every email that comes my way unless it's what I need. But however, with that being said, I'm changing my mind on this and get your opinion and as well on this is a lot of times for us that are on this call that we get a customer for our product. We need to keep some stickiness. That's how I believe we lose people is not keeping some type of stickiness. So that's where I think the email could be good is, and Robert will chime in on this too. Is that what you think? Because I'm just thinking these people have an amazing product. I only do something that I'm sold out on. And so they may not see the value unless they're plugged in and unless they're an affiliate or a teammate, they're not going to have these Zooms and different things. But do you feel the email, I guess they went around about, is good for our customer?
Absolutely. I'll explain and I'll double down on what you said. You said it
Okay.
yourself. I'm not in email. I don't open email unless, and this is the zone that we want to go in. We want to be in that unless zone. Unless I opted in for a 52 program and they're sending me a program every week and I need to, or I'm not going to pass the course. I'm the one opening up my email. I'm the one looking for it. I'm the one calling Tina. Did you send your email today? Because I'm not finding it. Now I'm in that zone with the client. Email, yes, is a hard trick to pull when you're mass emailing because these people are not expecting your conversation, right? So it's coming through, it might pick their attention. Again, coming back to my example, I like marketing. You open up my email, there's a whole bunch of email inbox that I wanted, that I opted for, but I don't get to read because there's so many of them. So when I open up my email, two things count. The recipient, because I'm expecting it from somebody. And then when I'm done that, I'm looking at the title. Which one should I open? Which one drives my interest today? Right? So these are the important things. If I came to a platform and I saw that there was an email form and they told me that if you do so, give me your email, you will receive a newsletter, you will receive free advice, you will receive free updates, free notification, free this and that. And I say, I want that value and I give that email. Then I'm the one checking for my inbox and I'm holding all that information dear to me because I wanted it. Okay, so it's important to understand on which part you're using emails, especially in this day and age. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. That's excellent. I've learned a lot from you. So I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And then just one question,
If I
when they
could,
do a mass email, does it give their individual name? So I think
You
it's
make
important to call their
yeah,
name.
yes, for the connection, yes. You make it a part of your strategy. It is an option. It's part of the code. If you see by default, the AI understands that, so we're putting in the
Okay.
code here and here. If you want to add extra codes, you'll see on the left side here, you have the different codes that you can embed. But
Okay.
these
All
only
right.
apply for our email tool. Don't take that and try pulling stunts on the website. It doesn't work.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
and
Robert wanted to time in, and then we'll
yes,
go to
yes.
Shannon. Go ahead.
I definitely want to chime in on this one for you, Tina, and anybody that's here listening and watching with the story so that you understand. A lot of people, you'll hear people out there saying email marketing is dead. BS. It's not dead. It's never going to be dead. It's just like what he was talking about. What is that subject line that's going to grab people's attention? The other thing I need you guys to think about is I had a personal friend of mine that I've known for many years running a business online on Facebook, page taken down, no way to connect with any of those customers that he already had because they had no way and did not put them on a list. If you're a network marketer and you're looking to do this long time, you will hear many successful people say the money is in the list. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about the email list. However, there are two lists that are going to end up being utilized, if you will. The one list is the list that you gather and collect the emails, names and emails for that information. Your second list is the list of qualified buyers that have already purchased from you. You want to create both of those lists because if you ever need an offer sent out to somebody, I'm going to send that to my qualified buyers list, not just my email list. Does that kind of make sense? You're protecting your assets, keeping everything under your thumb so that you have full control over it, and you can send out those emails. Maybe it might be, hey, my Facebook got taken down and still like to stay in touch with you. Here's my alternate form of communication. Let's meet on this platform or whatever the message is. Hopefully that makes sense.
This is
Hey,
golden. That's
yes,
awesome, Robert,
yes.
between you and
That
Virgin. I really appreciate that. And then I know a couple people personally asked me this, and I don't know, and I know need to get to Shannon. Where do we import those names? Like, will it come from our Facebook? Like, we just put our, like, how do we get those names imported in there? Because this is important conversation to have, that we all don't lose those.
Can you rephrase your question, Tina?
Yeah.
I'm gonna answer that right away. When you're importing, okay, because when you're importing, it has to do with your contact list, right? The only option that you have to import into the platform, in the list, you have import contact, and you'll see them. Email list or Excel. So whatever you want to bring in, you have to have on an Excel database. And
Okay.
I want to hammer down what well, first, since we're almost at the end, before I go into something else, Shannon will answer your question because um, Robert touched based on something that is very important. And I want to come back to that. I think this is a lesson for all of us to actually write down and remember, but we'll come back. Shannon, go ahead.
So, three short little things. One, I was piggyback on what Robert said about losing your account. I just recently had a 17-year-old Facebook account get hacked by a crypto hacker, and they blocked me from it. So yeah, I lost access to that. Another thing, when you're talking about emails, working in the corporate world, a little trick I learned: if you start the subject with your email with RE semicolon, it sends it as a reply and goes automatically to their inbox as opposed to possibly going to spam.
Can you give that to me again? RE.
Capital R, capital E, semicolon, and then your subject. So
Okay,
that's sending it
now,
as a reply as opposed to a open email, and it goes automatically into their inbox.
okay,
So
that is what we call a system hack. You see, I even said, let me take a note of that hack so that we can test it. And definitely, this is a golden hack. Put it to the test. One thing, because I really want to touch base on what Robert said, and this is so important, double down, added and justified by Shannon, but it comes down to a clear understanding of who we are in this space. We are network marketers. Our network defines who we are. It is our business. We should always secure our business, correct? So that if ever there's a possible loss of data, we can always fall back on that data, right? And to come back to something that is so important that ties into this, we are in a business where whatever we do, whatever we see, whatever we put in place, we are following three movements: the acquisition of an audience that is potentially interested in converting, right? So technically, we don't need a list now, but we have a general way of accessing people and bring them into the system. That's the first part, acquisition. Next, we have the conversion process, right? We survive on who we bring in, who we convert. So we need to get this momentum. But it's not a catch and release game. After the conversion, the most important part for us, for our business starts the retention. We grow on the clientele that we keep. If you understand something, not to bring back bad memories, but during the COVID period, the business that survived didn't survive on new acquisition. They survived on re-enrolling their existing clientele, maintaining them afloat. Okay? So whatever you're doing, when you're doing your prospect journey, the most important part starts after the conversion, the retention. The retention. This is so important. How do I keep my prospect coming back to me in the fold of the interest? Very important. So, when you're building up or looking at your process, understand, where am I? Am I doing acquisition? Marketing is a lot of acquisition. I'm putting things there so people can come into the system, leave me their emails. Once I have that, I have a conversion strategy. Once they're converted, I have a retention strategy. As simple as saying, hey, you're interested in marketing, you want to build your business, leave me your info. Acquisition. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to introduce you this product, we're going to start your business. This is the conversion. Then I'm going to put you on a 52-week program to keep you evolving in this business. And at the end of that 52-week program, we're going to come back, assess, and get you on another 52-week program. Because growth is a cycle, right? And as long as you're 52-week following this, I can onboard 50 new people and bring them onto the 50 new program. This is the dynamics of our workflow. This is why we need automation, so that the retention part can be automated, but it has to be structured and laid down, this foundation. Because even if, for example, I can only convert one client a month, but I keep everything I capture. At the end of every year, I have 12 people. My network is growing steadily, 12 people at a time on a yearly basis. It will have its value in gold. If I get 100 people every day, but at the end of the month, I lose 200, I'm sinking. Because the 100 people that come leave and they tell 100 people more not to come. Because they're like, well, you buy in, you don't get no service. How many of us have quit the service because of that? I was very excited, but then I got there, nobody was taking care of me. This leader brought me into it and then left me in the whims of the wind. So very important. Whenever you're doing things, I at the beginning when we were doing this, when we only had the marketing tool, I was hammering down this. I said, hey, focus on the retention. Focus on the retention, because as long as you keep everybody that you collect, you are growing. Okay, focus on the retention. And the stronger your retention process, the stronger your offer. Because when I tell you, hey, I'm going to give you a newsletter, I'm going to give you coaching, I'm going to give you seminars, I'm going to do one-on-one meetings with you, this is all part of the retention process. And by offering it ahead of time, I'm reassuring the client that he will be taken care of. Go ahead, Shannon.
Yeah, just two quick things. As far as importing, you were talking about, it showed email and CSV. You can also import your phone contacts.
Yeah. That is, that is
And
from
then,
the, go ahead, sorry.
and then the other quick thing, when requesting a learning session, when we go in there, do we just get a random person? Do we request you, or just how does that work?
Yeah, it's a round robin environment. If you don't request anybody, they'll put you on the round robin. You'll get the first one available. If you want to aim at somebody specific like me, you can say, I want a meeting with virtual, and they'll give you my booking link. Exactly.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you have the chance. Yes, I didn't mention the phone because that is specifically on the phone. When you're basically on the application, it's going to give you that option to import basically all the contacts that you have. Okay. But if you have an outside source, always remember CSV. And CSV is also by default data management, right? Before we had CRMs, we were using Excel documents to organize these clients. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I know we didn't get to cover a lot about nav in demonstration, but in practical use, everything that we cover has to do with that. The lead nav is about you looking at that person's profile and getting a good sense that this person is interested in the topic of discussion. Just as simply as saying, now that we discuss about email, if I sent an email about traveling to these people, would they accept it? Are they interested in travel? And if so, okay, I deserve to go more with this profile. I need to bring it in and start that conversation because already I know that I have a travel opportunity, right? So when you go out in the world to meet people, and it's just like if you were going out to the meeting, nobody there dresses up in the morning, goes out in the meeting. I don't know what I came here to talk about. No, I collected all my cards, all my marketing content, everything that I needed for my display. So I knew exactly which type of person I was looking for. When I get into these conventions, I know which person I'm looking for. Oh, this looks like my people. Hey, I see from your walk that you have a lot of energy. You're in the business, right? Yeah, great. Marketing, networking, great. Me too. Let's talk about it. Here's my card. This is exactly what we're doing now. I'm going to go on social media. Oh, this guy's in marketing just like me. Hello, and we start the process. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's not make it complicated. It's about people. Let's remember, and I think at one point we said that. Let's remember that with the power of AI, we are now called to become more human. Yeah. More and more people are using AI. More and more people want to know the hand behind this AI message. And this is why I said, even if the conversion happens automatically, at one point, the person that converted is going to say, well, can I speak to you? Okay, speak to my leader AI first. And when you have gone through the process, we will meet. Qualify, right? So I'm using another tool to deflect, but I have to know what I'm doing. Okay, good?
Yep.
Perfect, perfect. So I'll break the recording. Tomorrow we'll meet again. I'll try to see if there's more in-depth tips, tricks that we can put to use when looking at prospects' profile on social media, just like Sandy did. Note any things that seem odd. For example, this person seems to be active, but I'm not getting anything on their profile when I'm doing nav, so that we can make that share that with the support, the tech, and they can see if there are some commas or some things that they had to do in the code. We don't know what it is. They will know if we tell them this is so. They will understand this is where the thing might be needing some calibration. So since we're getting it first, using it first, let's help them optimize it for us. Good? Perfect. So I'll see you tomorrow again and more questions, more issues, more growth opportunities. And there are no bad questions. Okay. And this is why we're here from beginners to elite. We want the forum because a leader will learn from a beginner's question. Okay, this is how the new beginners are thinking, especially if you are in the leading space pre AI, right? You have to be aware, okay, my students are most likely going to be asking these type of questions. Let me prepare. So there's good questions across the spectrum. How do I push? Even how do I log into NowSite is a good question. Okay, perfect. Have a great one. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks,
You're
Virgil.
welcome.